is a whole step, and C sharp to D is a half step. So you can always follow the pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So let's try to apply this logic over here on a G major scale. So we know the notes are going to be G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So now we just got to make our intervals work. So G to A, is that a whole step? Think about on your instrument, if you play a G and then you're going to play an A after it, violins and violas, is there space between those two fingers, or are they right next to each other? Space would mean it's a whole step. Cello, if you're putting down two fingers, it means a whole step. Bass, if you're G to A, you're going to have to think about the bass style of things. You know your third finger doesn't do anything. So if it's a second to fourth, half step. First to fourth is a whole step. Open to one in first position, a whole step. So G to A is a whole step. A to B, think about all that same stuff. There's no space in those fingers. B to C, A to B, there is space in those fingers, so it's a whole step, which you notice is what we need. Next, we need a half step, B to C. Think about on the A string, violins and cellos, you're going to go 1, 2 for the cello, 1 low 2 for the violins and violas, so you know that that's a half step. C to D is a whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, we need it to be a whole step. Is it currently a whole step? Think about 1 to low 2. That would mean it's a half step, so you have to go F sharp to get that half step right, and then F. I'm sorry, I just totally did that wrong. Back it up. It is an F sharp. But E to F, right now it's a half step, and you need to make it a whole step. So you make the F sharp higher, and then F sharp to G is a half step. So, going through that entire process, I hope you will agree with me that knowing the order in which your sharps come in and being able to look at a simple diagram is a lot faster than just going through and figuring out each and every whole step and half step. So let's build one with flats using the same thing. So let's write a B flat major scale. So we do know that we're going to start on B flat, but then other than that, let's just put the rest of the notes in, not worrying about them. C, D, E, F, G, A, and it'll be a B flat at the end. So I'm going to go up to my circle of fifths here. See that B flat has two flats. So we'll go over here. The first two flats are B flat and E flat. So we're going to make sure the B flats are flat, which are good, and that the E flats are flat. Very simple, very quick. So the one last thing on the tonal theory side that I would like to cover is minor scales. We are only going to do natural minor. Let me slide this sheet of paper up here, because we're going to need to potentially bring back the circle of fifths in a second. We'll put a new sheet in. All right. So these are all major scales that we've got so far. Up next are going to be minor scales. And these become a little more interesting. So a minor scale will always start on the sixth note of a major scale. So there's a lot of different questions that I can ask. Let's just start by writing minor scale starts on, I'm going to draw a 6 with a caret. That means scale degree 6 of a major scale. So let's go back up to our D major scale that we've got here. So we've got D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. The sixth note is B. So that means a B minor scale is going to have the same notes as a D major scale, but just starting on B. So B, C sharp comes next, then D, then E, F sharp, G, A, B. So we can use the same type of interval test on this one. So, except the order is going to be slightly different. So this is a minor scale. You're going to have a whole step, then a half step, then a whole step, then a whole step, then a half step, then a whole step, then a whole step. So minor scales, there's a lot of them that if you were to just ask me off the top of your head, like, what is C sharp minor? I can't tell you the exact key signature, but what I can do is tell you that it is the same key signature as E major, and I know that E major's key signature is, find it, E major, 4 sharps, F, G, G, D. So I can tell you that the 6th note of any major scale, E, F, G, A, B, C, is a C sharp. And using that, I go backwards to the E, and I'm good on my key signature. So I'm not going to ask you a lot about minor scales because I don't think my explanation is very great. But know that they do exist and that we're going to have to do a little more with them when I get back. That's all I've got on the tonal theory side. So I'm going to get a clean sheet of paper, and we're going to start with the rhythmic side of things. All right. So, rhythmic theory. 6th graders are going to see a lot of this coming up as we're doing a lot of reading of rhythms and different stuff like that. 7th and 8th graders, you guys are a little better at reading rhythms, so you're not going to see quite as much, but don't be surprised if I still focus on it a little bit. Oh, weird color things. All right, so rhythm. So the big thing to remember here is that just like the circle of fifths, I'm going to build you guys something that you can come back to every time without fail to help you with this stuff. So I'm going to call it a subdivision tree, but I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's start with just the basic rhythmic values in music, and that's a time signature. And what it is it's 2 numbers. Let's use 4, 4, because that's the most standard one. Let's sit right on top of each other. And the top number is the number of beats. The bottom number is the note value that gets the beat. So, thinking about that, 4, 4, that means you've got 4 beats in a measure, and then a quarter note gets the beat. If we were to write, say, 3, 2, that'd be 3 beats, and the half note gets the beat. A couple other things that you may see every now and then is just a C. This is common time, which equals 4, 4. The other one you'll see is a C with a line through it, which is cup time, which is 2 over 2. 4, 4 we already covered. 2, 2, let's think about it. That means 2 beats, and the half note hits the beat. So, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show you something that you can always come back to here when you're working on stuff in order to hopefully always come up with the right answers. And we're going to call it a subdivision tree. So, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to leave this up here for a little bit just in case anyone's a little behind, they can catch up. We're going to start at the top of our tree. It's going to look kind of like a pine tree. We're going to start with a whole note. And we're going to go down in layers, and each time we go down, we're going to split each note we have into 2 separate notes until we get tired of doing it, which I'll probably go to 16ths, but you could keep going from there if you wanted. So you take a whole note, you split it in half. This is very easy. You split a whole note in half, you get 2, wait for it, half notes. Okay, so the next one's not quite as easy, but it still makes a lot of sense. You take a half note, and you split it in half. And 1/2 of 1/2 is a quarter, so you get a quarter note, or specifically 2 quarter notes. So I'm going to do this on both sides, because it's going to be useful in a little bit. All right, so keep going on down. You take a quarter note, split it in half. What's half of a quarter? It's an eighth. We've got an eighth note. We've got 2 eighth notes that go into 1 quarter note. Get myself. So you could beam these together if you wanted to. But okay. So I'm not going to go all the way across on this next one, but you take an eighth note and you split it in half, and you get 2 16th notes. So we're going to go 16th. It's got 2 little flags on the stem, and that would go all the way across. So a nice easy way to remember this, and this is going to work very, very well when we're in 4/4 cut time. Anything that's a base of 2 is, think about how many whole notes are in a measure. You have 1, or that's a whole note. How many half notes are in a measure? 2, which is the bottom number of the fraction. How many quarter notes are in a measure? 4. How many eighth notes are in a measure? 8. How many 16th notes are in a measure? 16. You can all think how many 32nd notes are in a measure? 32. How many 64th notes are in a measure? 64. All speaking in 4/4 time.